Chapter 9. Denver. Someone knocked on the bathroom door. Aliana? Annabeth's voice sounded through the thin metal door. She sighed when Aliana didn't answer. I just wanted to let you know that we're almost in Denver. She waited a moment to see if she would answer, but soon walked away, the sound of her steps fading away. Aliana leaned her head back against the door, hugging her knees close to her chest. She didn't want them to see her cry, which she'd been doing for the past 10 minutes. She wasn't entirely sure why, but the nightmare had freaked her out, especially the part about the voice strangling her in real life. She took a deep breath and stood. Time to go. Opening the door, she walked back to her seat and awkwardly took her place next to Grover by the window. No one spoke for the remainder of the trip. When they reached Denver, they exited the train and wandered the streets. Grover spotted a cafe and immediately pointed it out. He was almost jumping up and down as he looked at Percy and Annabeth pleadingly. Please! He dragged out the word like a whining child. I'm hungry! Annabeth rolled her eyes at the pleading satyr. Percy's stomach growled. Maybe a bite to eat isn't the worst idea. Annabeth crossed her arms and gave the boys a look. Her own stomach suddenly murmured its agreement. She blushed. Okay, fine. But we need to be quick. I don't want to get attacked by any kindly ones disguised as waitresses or something. The boys ran ahead to save them a table while Annabeth and Aliana walked leisurely behind them, trying to look inconspicuous. Finally, they were sitting at a table waiting for someone to serve them. A waitress approached with a big smile plastered on her face. It looked forced, but she kept her voice cheery as she spoke to them. Do you have money to pay for this? She asked as Grover surveyed the menu ravenously. Percy looked at Annabeth, who was giving him a look that said, I told you this was a bad idea. It's on me. A loud, gruff voice sounded from the door. The 14s whirled to see who had spoken. A large guy clad in leather, wearing dark sunglasses, strode into the cafe. Everything seemed to freeze as he made his way toward their table. He spoke with the waitress, ordering food for them, and squeezed into the booth, squishing Aliana and Annabeth together. Aliana felt a surge of anger pulse through her chest. She knew exactly who this was. Ares, god of war, at your service, he confirmed. Or I guess I should say you're at my service. Aliana wanted to slap him, and that wasn't just his chaotic aura talking. I need a favor, he continued, as the waitress brought out a tray piled high with food. Grover snatched at the food right away. Aliana rolled her eyes. Goats. Ares went on to explain that he had left his shield at an abandoned water park, and he had no motivation to get it, so they had to do it for him. Aliana couldn't have been more happy when he finally left. Percy looked at Annabeth. So, are we doing this? She scoffed. Well, we can't very well defy him now, can we? He's a god. The god of war, to be specific. You don't want any of them as an enemy, but especially not him. She was staring at the door where Ares had sped away on his motorcycle. Aliana examined the table closely. She knew what she had to do, but she didn't know how the others would react. It was then that she realized Percy had been talking to her. Aliana? He gazed at her questioningly. What do you think we should do? She bit her bottom lip as she met his gaze. I think it's time we split up. What? Percy, Annabeth, and Grover all gasped in unison. Aliana looked away. I've caused more problems than I've solved. I think it's time I went back to camp. You've proven that you can take care of yourselves. You don't need me. Of course we need you, Grover blurted. Yeah, Percy agreed. We wouldn't have gotten out of it in some of those fights if you hadn't been there. Annabeth just looked at her sadly. This is about the nightmares, isn't it? So what if it is, Aliana replied. You're already carrying the fate of the world. You shouldn't have to worry about me, too. Grover and Percy started naming reasons for her to stay. Annabeth locked eyes with her and sighed. We're not going to be able to talk you out of this, are we? Aliana shook her head. Annabeth took a deep breath and nodded. Good luck. Percy and Grover quieted and looked at her as she stood. You're really going? Percy observed. Aliana nodded. I have to. I don't want to make the quest harder than it already is. He pushed himself to his feet. Hesitantly, he stepped forward and wrapped her in a hug. Aliana stiffened. It had been so long since she'd had a real hug. Since her dad had. Tears sprang to her eyes, but she blinked them back as she slowly returned to Percy's embrace. When they pulled back, she took a deep breath. Good luck in the underworld. She walked out of the cafe before she could change her mind. She breathed down the polluted air of Denver. All right, she spoke into the darkening sky. Let's find out what you are.